keeps me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy, I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your choice is seminal. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true. Just speak low, stand in your row, try not to show this life's a show. Try not to glow way down below. Oh, it's a lot of woe, and that's not a place where you would like to go. I've got cigarettes and brandy, which could come in handy if you just help me loosen up my hand grenades fuse. Baby, don't refuse my truth, but it's up to you now to choose. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true, 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 true.
Hey, you guys, how are you? Happy Monday. It's cold everywhere. It's not like super cold here. I mean, it's cold, but yeah, it's going to be like, I don't know. They said, I don't know. I was looking at the weather and like almost 90. That cannot be right. Like at the end of by the end of next week, that's not right. Even for Texas, that's not right. I don't know what's going on. Anywho, but I hear lots of places are getting snow. So bundle up. I hope everybody's staying nice and warm. Um, I want to first start off by saying I apologize. Last week, what a mess. I just okay, so remember how I had to get off of the live early on Wednesday night because I had to get up at 4:30? Do y'all know that my freaking alarm did not go off? My first alarm. I have 2 alarms. I have one that goes off at 4:30, and then I have another one that goes off at 6. Okay. And the 4:30 one didn't go off. And so they had to wake up the Nuggie. I feel awful about this. They had to wake Nuggie up and take her so that they could take so he could take my daughter to work. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible about that. So yeah, I was just like, ugh. So anyway, and then I have done something to my back. I have no idea what I've done to it. I mean, it hurts all the time. I had surgery years ago, but it wasn't the right surgery. I needed to have a fusion, but I was too young. And oh my God, neat noodle, 25 degrees. Oh, God, it's like penguin weather. I know Shmita messaged me and they're getting snow. What she's in the Canadas. They're always, it's like, that might, she's in penguin land too. Um, but anyway, so I'm having a really hard time, like, sitting for long periods of time, which is required to edit. Please be patient with me. I'm working on it. I'm doing it, like, in small increments. It's just taking a little longer than I anticipated, and I really, really apologize for that, and also not being live because you have to sit when you're live. I mean, I can get up and move around once I get going, but I have to stay seated at first. So, um I apologize, you guys. I really am. So I'm back. We're getting back on the schedule every weeknight, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. I'm thinking that I think the next one we're going to do after this is Susan Smith. But we're going to finish up with Diane. We got a long way to go still. Okay. What else did I want to tell you guys? Oh, I don't know if it's notifying you guys, but I've gone through, um, and looked at the channel, and, I don't like some of the thumbnails that I did. I think they're too much. I think that I am really liking the aesthetic that I used for Ed Gein, and, it's cleaner, and it's not as busy, and so I'm going through and changing it on all of, like, just the old stuff, and I'm gonna change the aesthetic for the whole channel, but, just, slower. I have, the Nuggie. She spent the night last night and tonight she helped me we made, homemade sauce and meatballs and had spaghetti and meatballs, and you know, I didn't let her help with the meatball making because she's only 4, and I feel like I don't know, that's too young, to be making meatballs, so, but she did help pour in the cheese and pour in the breadcrumbs, and she liked doing that, so anyway, um, I've been, hanging out with her quite a lot, so, I have the song, because she listens to Frozen at night, and so now that song, "Do you wanna build a snowman?" is in my head, but also, uh, what is it? It's the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army is in my head. I'm going to Wichita, far from this opera forevermore. I don't know why, but they're like battling. So that's what's going on in my brain now. You're welcome. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. If you haven't done so, could you please do your girl a favor? Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, maybe a thumbs down for that long ass intro about nothing that didn't have anything to do with anything um, that I just shared with you guys for no reason at all. But I haven't got to talk to you guys, so I miss you guys. Also, um, it is a new month, and I missed the one in October, but don't worry. We will be having our monthly members only live. I'm thinking maybe I don't know, maybe I don't know. No, because I gotta do Diane maybe Saturday night, you guys? A Saturday, night members only live, I was thinking we might do that. So yeah. Okay, the first thing I wanna show you guys is, before we get to Diane's, 2010 um, parole hearing, which isn't as much of a doozy that I remember as her first one. I also need to correct something. Um, Danny Downs is not Steve Downs' son. I'm not sure who his biological father is, but it isn't Steve, who was married to Diane Downs. So it's not him, and I needed to correct that. So I wanted to make that correction. Um, and the first thing that we're going to watch is that interview that she gave um, on her, hang on a second, that she did in 1983, that horrendous one. We're going to watch that real quick. Here it is. This is the one. Um, so we're gonna watch that, and then we'll get into the then we're gonna get into the 2010, and then we'll start the 2020. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I meant like not like the music intro, but my long diatribe that I just gave you for no reason about nothing super important. But I haven't got to talk to you guys, and I just wanted to let you know what was going on with me and everything like that. So, all right, let's get started. So the first one we're going to watch is that special it aired in 1984, but it was actually filmed before that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yeah. It aired in 1984, but it was filmed in November of 1983, and, they didn't air it out of, an abundance of caution to make sure that she got a fair trial. So, oh, hey, Gloria. Hi, everybody. Hi, I see everybody, and I'm so glad you guys are here. I've missed all of you. Allie sent some people, sent everybody over, and I'm so thank you for that, Allie. Um, yes, Jen, this is the one with the creepy smile and the anger. She's angry, and it's we'll get into it. Let's just go ahead and start. Let me go ahead and turn the closed captions on, just in case. All right. Now, this comes from Diane Downs TV channel. I will put the link in the description at the end of this. That channel is full of nuggets of like just archival stuff that you really cannot find anymore. I'm so grateful to that channel. And I mean, I've watched everything that's on there multiple times. But yeah, you definitely I don't want to take their content. So I'm just playing like a few selections here and there. All right, you guys ready? All right, here we go.
This is an Eyewitness News special report. In her own words, Elizabeth Diane Downs.
Good evening. I'm Ann Bradley. What you're about to see is a conversation with Elizabeth Diane Downs in November. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to try to give you the inside story about what Elizabeth Diane Downs is like, in her own words. How she feels about her life, her former marriage, her children, and the events that have happened over the past year. You may be wondering why we haven't aired this interview. Eyewitness News waited until now because of the sensitivity of some of the things said, and it does contain some graphic language. These comments represent Elizabeth Diane Downs' thoughts and opinions and are not necessarily shared by KEZI. We've also been concerned about the effect of this material on potential jurors. Now that a jury has been picked, we want to share some of the background of the Downs case with you. Let's start by taking a look back at what happened May 19th, 1983.
Thank you, Crime Crochet and Coiffe. Excuse me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Cool Kids Club. Did you watch Small Sacrifices? Yeah. Nobody will ever be able to truly capture the essence that is Diane Downs, only just because, you have to be like an absolute psychopath for that. But I like how I thought this was important, and I think this is really ethical and responsible journalism, right? They had a story. She sat down with them. She said some of the most throwed off stuff, right? You're all going to be like, "What did she just say?" I'm going to be like, "What did she say?" So this is going to be like information. What is it? Informational? No, is that right? Is that a word? Yes, informative. This will be informative, but I'll also have to be doing a little roast because it's Diane Downs. She says some of the most like ludicrous, throwed off stuff I've heard in a long time. Okay, she right up there with Tisha, right up there. Okay, um, it was Farah who played Diane. So I just thought, this is really ethical journalism because, um, look, they had the story. They could have aired it when she gave them the story, and they chose not to. And I just think that's like super cool, you know? Aw, thank you, Lady Fucking T. Uh, Allie sent me. Well, thank you for sending her, Allie. I hope you enjoy it over here. We're a good bunch. We all kind of hang out at the same place. Allie's one of my good buds, so we're frequently we do a lot together. So, all right, let me shut up and let me let you guys hear this. All right, here we go.
A year ago this week, one of the most horrendous crimes took place along this stretch of Old Mohawk Road east of Eugene. A 28-year-old woman and her 3 small children were brutally shot. Elizabeth Diane Downs says the family was on a sightseeing trip when a shaggy-haired stranger flagged her down and demanded her car. She refused, and the assailant shot Downs and her children at close range with a .22 caliber gun. 9-year-old Christie was shot first, through the hand into the chest as she tried to protect herself. 3-year-old Danny was shot in the back and is now paralyzed from the waist down. 7-year-old Cheryl was shot twice from behind and died on the way to the hospital. Police searched the brush and nearby river looking for the murder weapon. The gun was never found, and neither was the shaggy-haired stranger. Police started suspecting Downs as the culprit. The prosecution claims her obsessive love for an ex-boyfriend in Arizona was her motive. The state says Downs felt her children were getting in the way and preventing a romantic relationship with that former boyfriend. And strangely enough, even the people who knew Downs best questioned her account of the shootings on the night of the murder. Downs' father, Wes Fredrickson. Was there ever a time from the beginning when you first heard that you had any doubts about her innocence?
Was there a time when I had doubts? Yes, there was. The first night, as a matter of fact, I had doubts. I felt, I sat and I sized up the situation, and I saw at one point that Diane had been shot in the, and everybody knows her as Elizabeth, but Diane had been shot in the left arm, and she's right-handed, and I made the comment to the police department there that night. It looks to me like Diane did it, because the children have been shot in the chest, and Diane has only been shot in the arm. And I says, it really looks like she did it. That really is the thing that spurred them to go and check, to do the Q-tips, run the Q-tips around her finger to check for the powder residue, and to also spray her hands to see if she held a gun. So it was a good thing that I expressed that, and I'm a very open person. If I think that somebody did something, I'm not about to hesitate to say they didn't. You know, I'll tell them that I think they did, and I'd say the same thing again if I believed it. I've had plenty of opportunity to follow, and that's one of the main reasons, I guess, for peace of mind. I've followed through, and I know that my daughter didn't do it.
I have been through that night so many times. I've even been through it with my psychologist. It's very hard, it's very tearful. There are a lot of memories that, I don't know. A lot of people, when something traumatic happens to them, they suppress it immediately. I kept those memories because I knew that I was the only person that was going to be able to tell them what happened when we got to the hospital. And when I got there, the first thing I said was call the doctors. Second thing was the blood type. Third thing was call the cops, because they've got to find him. And so I had to remember as much as I could remember.
Ma'am, first of all, no. Terry, when were those tears? Because I don't know about you guys, but I have not seen or heard her cry once. There is a video of Diane. Diane went out to the scene and she did the reenactment. We listened to her talk about the reenactment in the last live that I played, in those recorded diaries that she made. And y'all, she is out there waving to the camera, smiling. This is her big moment. It is one of the, it's so thrown off. It is so messed up. Her behavior is so, I don't, like, you know me, I always say, normal is relative, not everybody grieves the same way, but you can tell when somebody is actually grieving. This ain't that, not at all, not even close, not by a long shot. All right, so here we're going to get into the video. We're getting into her bullshittery, as it were. Let's continue.
When this man shot my daughter, my first reaction was to snap back to my childhood, to the pain that had happened to me back then, my marriage, my entrapment by society. This man was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. He had more power because he had a gun. He was in control and I was not. And there was nothing I could do. And I stood there and I looked at Christie reaching, and the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. What do? You just stand there trapped. And then the gun kept firing.
Oh, thank you, Clint, very much. Clint said, love your passion for your content. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to rewind that because I caught this when I was watching this again. I like to watch stuff before I play it for you guys just so I can refresh my brain. And you guys tell me what you think, because I am almost positive I caught a snicker. Also, Diane does what she always does. The first thing that she thought of was herself every single time. She doesn't show any concern for her children.
To me, back then, my marriage, my entrapment by society. This man was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. He had more power because he had a gun. He was in control and I was not. And there was nothing I could do. And I stood there and I looked at Christie reaching, and the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. And
it was right there. Did you guys see it? I'm going to rewind it one more time. Watch when she talks about the blood. She's going to close her mouth and she's almost going to smile. It's right before she swallows. All right, watch again. All right, here we go.
And there was nothing I could do. And I stood there and I looked at Christie reaching.
Right here.
And the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. What do? You just stand.
Oh, do they? Crime Crochet? I've watched it, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. And good. I feel vindicated. I feel validated. If the behavior panel caught it, then it was actually there. So fantastic. Yay for me. I get a gold star for today. Let's keep going.
They're trapped. And then the gun kept firing and firing and firing. And it was monotonous. It just kept going. It was like a slow motion picture. And then he swung around towards me, and this is something that I did not recall when I was explaining to the cops, because it wasn't like a movie when I was telling them. I was telling them what happened, the important details. He shot my kids, I pushed him, I ran. And when he swung around, he was pointing, when he swung around, it hit the tips of my fingers. The gun hit the tips of my fingers, and that snapped me. And I went, wait a minute. I'm not trapped by society. I don't care if he is bigger. If I stand here and I say, yeah, here, take the keys. I mean, there's nothing I can do. You win because you have the gun. My kids are going to die. And I'm not going to let my kids die. And so instead of giving him the keys, I feigned throwing the keys. He did not take time to point the gun and shoot me, obviously, because he would have shot me the same way he did the kids. When he was swinging in the direction of the keys, firing the gun, he hit my arm. Everybody says, you sure were lucky. Well, I don't feel very lucky. I couldn't tie my damn shoes for about 2 months. It is very painful. It is still painful. I have a steel plate in my arm. I will for 1.5 years.
All right, everybody take a drink when she says I don't feel very lucky. I have a steel plate in my arm. I couldn't tie my own shoes for 2 months. I. Your children. What about your children, Diane? Danny, 3 years old, paralyzed from the waist down. Christie had a stroke, had to relearn everything. Cheryl is dead. She never mentions Cheryl. It's always me, 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 me. I. Yeah, maybe don't take a drink every time she says I, because you still want to use your liver, don't you? This is ridiculous. I mean, every time it just every time, every time. And yes, the 80s were a bad time for hair and everything, but let me just say this, even in the 80s, we had toner, okay? So if you wanna bleach your hair, cool, but, we had toner. This is so brassy and
The scar
awful.
is going to be there forever. I'm going to remember that night for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. I don't think I was very lucky. I think my kids were lucky. If I had been shot the way they were, we all would have died, except maybe Danny.
What haunts you the most about that night?
What do I see most is blood coming out of Christie's mouth, because that's what I see.
There it is again. There it is again, the smirk, again, every time she talks about it. It's so gross.
I can't see Danny, and I can't see Cher. Sherry was laying on the floor, and driving to the hospital, I don't know the sounds that were made at the initial shooting because I was on the outside, and all I could hear, I can't hear anything but gunshots. And I can see things, that's it. Driving to the hospital, I can smell blood. I can not hear Cheryl. Cheryl's not making a sound. Danny is just crying real, real soft. So that sound stays in my mind, and the fact that Christie's choking, and then I'm yelling at her, I'm screaming at her to roll over on her face, because I was trying to keep her from choking on her blood, and it just didn't dawn on me that she was shot in the chest and that the blood was coming from her chest, not going down into her chest.
Yeah. Downs says her childhood and marriage flashed before her the night of the murder. Diane is the oldest of 4 Frederickson children, and she says her childhood is a great source of pain in her life. How did your childhood affect you?
Everything that happens to you as a child contributes to how you turn out as an adult. To be honest, it made me a better person because I know all the mistakes. I know what not to do to my kids. I know what to avoid. One thing is to not be married. And that may seem very...
Bitch, you shot them. What do you mean you know what not to do? I would think not trying to kill them and then succeeding with one would be at the very top of your list. I mean, of things not to do. Isn't it our job as parents, right? Like the number one thing is keep them alive. What in the actual fuck are you talking about? Isn't she ridiculous, you guys? She really thinks that this is that the things that are coming out of her mouth are fantastic.
very harsh, but I honestly don't believe that children need fathers. And they're nice to have around sometimes when they can do things to help you, but when they are mentally abusive, when they are harsh, and the way my ex-husband was, they're more a deterrent to the children than a help. And unless you can find a good father, there is no need for them.
Did your childhood affect your attitude toward men?
That has a lot to do with it. That had a lot to do with it for many, many, many years. I hated men with a passion. But yeah, I hated men for a long time. That's why I met Steve. That's why I married Steve, because Steve did not seem to be that way. Steve was always on his best behavior. He does the thing that most people do when they're dating, and that's put their best foot forward. Yep. You're nice, they're punctual, they're everything they're supposed to be. And then you marry them, and it's, hey, Diane, can you let yourself in? I have to run down and look at a car.
Yeah.
That's what he did on our wedding day. Actually, I found it out the day I got married, and then within the next 2 months after that, I found out that Steve was exactly like my father. But it took me 2 years, 3 years, to finally say, I can't take it anymore. He really, really is. He's not going to change. I am a person that believes that everybody's going to change for the better, given the right circumstances. If you be a good wife, if you don't nag, if you love them, if you're always there when they need them, if the food's always ready, if the house is always clean, they're going to change. He didn't change.
Yeah, Diane, that you really strike me as a giver. You really strike me as one of these women who's just like, if I just have the house clean and the kids are fed and quiet and everything's great, he'll be happy. Yeah, you really strike me as one of those women. Shut up. Shut up. Ridiculous.
And that's why, even though we were married for 8 years, only 3 of it was not tolerable. It wasn't tolerable, but that was the only 3 that I tried. After that, I quit because I didn't want to be married anymore.
Diane says her marriage with Steve Downs deteriorated when friction arose over an unexpected pregnancy.
Okay, after I had Christie and after I had Cheryl, Steve had a vasectomy. It didn't work. And he never went back to get checked to see if it worked. He just figured doctors know what they're doing, it must have worked. So after, I think it's, you're supposed to wait 10 weeks, be on some kind of contraceptive for 10 weeks, and then you're safe.
And then you check.
But you're supposed to check, yeah. He never went back because he was just too busy, and the doctor probably knew what he was doing. Well, I got pregnant, and I knew that I wasn't messing around with anybody, and that if I was pregnant, because I know what being pregnant feels like, I know how I got that way. And I told him about it, and he gave me heck. Oh, he
so
was
is
just
Danny
furious.
or is Danny not?
That was the child that I aborted. Steve put me through hell with that one, and I had an abortion. Cheryl was colicky, Steve was bitching. I made Steve go back to the doctor or shut up. Don't accuse me until you know. The doctor said, yeah, you are fertile. I guess I goofed up. Come on in and we'll go ahead and do it again. Well, I was pregnant. So I was 20 years old, had 2 kids. Cheryl was colicky. My husband was a bastard. I'm sorry. And I had an abortion. And it was something that did not bother me for 2 years. And then I was at a fair in Arizona. I walked past a Right to Life booth, and they told me at the time that I aborted that I was 6 weeks. And I figured 6 weeks, that is a condition. You are not pregnant, that is a condition. It's a little ball of slime, you know, no big deal. It's a fetus is slime, I figured.
Oh, Jesus fuck. Look, I'm sorry, you guys. I totally forgot about this part. Sometimes I can't even believe the words that are coming out of her mouth. But as the bigger takeaway, I think, in this, from this portion of the story is the way that Diane is able to justify anything and everything that she wants. She will find a way to make it okay. She will find a way to justify it. Oh, Jennifer, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Welcome to the ward. But yes, obviously her language, all the things her choice of words is disgusting. It's despicable, right? But I think the bigger takeaway here also is that she finds a way to justify anything that she does. There's always, the ends always justify the means in Diane's mind. And that's just her mindset.
I saw a 6-week fetus. That baby had arms, legs, fingers, toes, a head, eyes. That was a baby. It was a human being, and I killed it. And I felt so horrible about it that I had killed somebody like that. I didn't kill it myself, but I hired a doctor to do it. Yeah. And so I asked my husband to have his vasectomy changed, reversed. He refused. I asked him for a year. He kept saying no. I said, fine, I will find a suitable donor. I watched people I worked with. I picked somebody that was attractive, that was healthy, that was not abusive of drugs and alcohol and such. Was strong, bone structure, the whole bit, a good specimen. It was really clinical. It was really terrible. And I seduced him. And I know my cycle, and it only took once, and I got pregnant. I went home, and about a week later, I told Steve I was pregnant. And he goes, how do you know? And I says, well, I know my cycle. I know I'm pregnant. And he was really upset. For that whole 9 months, he put me through hell. Every day, every night. It was terrible. Just railed on me constantly. Told me to get an abortion. The whole bit. And then after the baby was born, he told me, if you have a girl baby, I might let you stay around. But if you have a boy, I'm kicking you both out on your butts, and you're going to take those 2 with you also, because how do I know they're mine? That kind of attitude. Well, I lived with that for 9 months. Well, when Danny was born, Steve, because, okay, the reason it had to be a girl was because Christie was supposed to be a boy. I was so cruel and mean I had a girl, and Steve just couldn't stand it. Got one more chance, Diane. Cheryl better be a boy. Well, Cheryl turned out being a girl. He came into the recovery room. He goes, well, where is he? I said, he's a she. He says, how could you do that? You know, we're not having any more kids. Crazy, flipped out. So if I was going to have another one, I better darn sure have a girl. Well, when Danny was born, he was a boy, and my first thought was, I'm dead. He's dead. What's he going to do to that baby? And then I didn't care. I mean, that was my baby. That was supposedly the baby that was going to replace the one that I'd aborted. And as soon as I looked at Danny, I said, you can't. That's a boy baby. And I just knew that the baby I'd aborted was a girl. I'd named her Carrie and everything. There's just a different human being altogether, you know. And a whole lot of emotion on that delivery table. And Steve standing there right beside me looking at me like, you witch. How could you do this? You're out, you know. And Dr. George handed Daniel to Steve. And from that point on, Steve spent the rest of the past 4 years trying to prove to people that he was not biased and not prejudiced, thereby becoming biased and prejudiced.
We've talked to Steve Downs in the past about some of these events. We attempted to contact him again, but his attorney wouldn't allow him to comment because of the trial. Downs knew a lengthy murder trial would make her private life public territory. She's very frank about being a surrogate mother. She ran a surrogate program in Arizona and gave birth to another couple's child. Diane lost visitation rights to her own 2 surviving children after the murder. She was found guilty of contempt of court for seeing them at a secret visit set up by her ex-husband, Steve. Police found out about the visit in a letter Downs wrote to her former boyfriend, Robert Knickerbocker, known as Nick, in Arizona. You fought for Steve to get custody of the kids, and then you wrote a letter to your former boyfriend telling him that Steve...
You know, it's interesting to me that Diane talks a lot about how she hates men, right? Hates them, just hates them. Can't stand them. They are just no good, right? And yet, she chased Robert Knickerbocker all over Hell's Half Acre. She wrote to him. She called him. She showed up. I mean, we listened to a recorded phone call between the two of them where she was it in the in her interview with police at the hospital when she said the first thing she's going to do when she gets well enough to get out of the hospital, she's going to go and talk to Robert. Well, she calls him Nick, and straighten this whole, straighten things out. That was her priority. For somebody who just absolutely hates men, they sure are a priority in your life. You know, I don't like eggs. I don't like eggs at all. I don't like them boiled, baked, scrambled, fried, none of it. Poached, none of it. Okay. You know what's not a priority in my life? Fucking eggs, because I don't like them. That's, men are a priority in your life, Diane. Stop playing with these people out here.
He was an unfit father for your children. A lot of people won't understand that, Diane.
But Steve is different than most people. Steve pointed an empty gun at my head at one time and pulled the trigger. Do you know why? He wanted me to marry him. That is crazy. CSD, I believe, is very careful in picking out the people that care for a child that they think has been abused. And right now, they believe that Christie has been one of the most abused children in the world. Granted, she was shot, but before that, she was never abused. But they believe that that's probably true. And so they're going to put Christie in a very, very good place. And so I know that Christie's in a good home. Yeah. And so I just decided that it was better that Christie be in a safe, a mentally stable environment rather than to be with Steve. And if I had walked up to Susan Staffel and said, please don't let them go to Arizona, or if I had called Furtick and asked the same thing, they would have sent the kids, or they would, granted, they could not send the kids. They make suggestions to the court as to what happens to the kids. And they would have suggested to the court that the kids go merely because I don't want them to. That means Steve and I had a falling out. What better place could they be safe? Not realizing that they aren't safe from Steve.
Diane, again, this is part of her whole cluster B personality disorder situation that she's got going on. The sun does not rise and set on you. People don't get up in the morning and the first thought in their brain as they open their eyes is, how can I F with Diane Downs today? Okay. They're not going to put children where they're unsafe. They check these people. They're not going to put children somewhere just to spite you. Shut up. Meanwhile, you've talked about every other thing under the sun, your cycle, your hatred of men, all the things, and you've barely mentioned your children at all. And even when you do mention your children, it's really not even about them. It's about how they make you feel. Ridiculous. I can't make it past them damn eyebrows. I'm just like, what happened here? They just quit on you or what?
Even, and emotionally. And so I couldn't just count on them to cooperate with me. They haven't so far. I couldn't expect them to now. And so I had to find another way to tell them. And I know that my ex-boyfriend was a fink. He was taping for the cops. He admitted that he was every conversation that I had with him on the phone was taped and sent immediately to the DA's office. And I knew that that letter, if I sent it to him and he read it, would in fact get to the DA's office. But all the other letters that I'd been sending as of late were being returned. And so I knew that I had to do something to make that letter so enticing that he would open it.
Holy manipulation, Batman. Holy manipulation. See, the thing about Diane, a fink, right? That's, you knew he was a fink. You knew the whole time that he was recording you didn't know the whole time. You didn't. You knew after the fact. Stop playing with these people. You're not the smartest person in the room all the time. You need to stop. She's so ridiculous. I can't even do it with her. I just cannot. Thank goodness we don't have much of this to go. All right, here we go.
Downs says she felt trapped in her marriage with Steve and hoped a divorce would solve their problems.
Was there ever a time during that you thought about taking your own life and
Oh, yeah.
went into the bathroom with the gun and shot it?
Yeah.
So that is indeed...
That is true. Only, no, it's not...
Oh, I'd like to... Who is asked to relive a time when they had some ideation, right? And they smile multiple times. It's usually, dark, somber. You may not cry. Not everybody's a public crier. I'm not a public crier. But for the love of Pete, smiling again inappropriately. God.
It's a long one, too. It takes many, many years of being mentally harassed, pushed into a corner. You can't go anywhere. You're trapped. It even stems from my childhood of being trapped. You know that you can't go away. You can't go someplace else. There's no place to escape to because they'll find you. They'll bring you back.
Yeah.
You'll be punished somehow. Steve was the same type of person. He was the kind of person that at nighttime especially was his best time for fighting, and he would just rail on me, just fight and fight and fight, and there was no way to escape, no way at all. Well, after I got my divorce, I figured I was free of that, and I wasn't. Steve would still come to my house and still do the same thing, and this was 2 years after our divorce, and he came to my house, and I had taken a gun. He had a handgun. It was the handgun that he had put to my head, unloaded and fired, and I took it from him. I swiped it from him, and I hid it in my house. And it was in my bedroom. He was doing it again, and he was getting very, very physical. Steve had just beat me up 2 weeks before that, beat me up terribly. There was blood all over the place. The sheriff's department came out and made a report on it, and my nose was all bruised, my face was bruised, my chest was bruised. He had choked me. I was terrified of him. He had never done that before. And for all I knew, this was 2 weeks later, he was going to do it again. And I ran in the bathroom, I ran in the bedroom and slammed the door. And he was coming through the door anyway, so I grabbed the gun and I ran in the bathroom and locked the door. And my first thought was, I'll never escape from him. I will never, ever get away. I divorced him, and that isn't even getting away from him. It doesn't matter what I do. I'll never get away from the insanity, except just to be oblivious to it. And I considered shooting myself, but it was a .22 handgun, and Steve had said, you can't kill anybody with a .22. Surprise. There's no way you could kill somebody. You would hurt them badly. And then I thought, besides, my kids need me. I can't die.
Okay, that was a little leak. That part where she says surprise, that's because her children were shot with a .22. And obviously, Cheryl died of her injuries. So it's a little leak. It's almost like, it's like a weird, almost an I told you so to him, or you were wrong and I was right to him. It's very, very odd. It's very unsettling. This bitch is a whole demon, y'all. She's just a whole demon. Here we go.
Then I thought maybe I should kill him. And then I said, same gun, same situation. I would hurt him. He would be furious. Then I'm really going to be in trouble. And so I said, what do I do? How do I tell him I'm serious?
The gun went off?
Yes, I fired it to scare the hell out of him. I wanted him to know that I was serious enough that if he kept this up, if he kept doing what he was doing to my mind, someday perhaps that would be pointed at a person. Not now, but someday. And I fired the gun, he went, oh my God, and he broke the door down. And I sat there and I handed him the gun and I said, now do you believe me? And he took the gun and he said, yeah, and he left.
I think it did happen, but not like she says. I think if I remember correctly, she shot the floor, if I remember right. And, but it's that part before that I find quite interesting. Give me just a second. All right, here we go.
Furious, then I'm really going to be in trouble. And so I said, what do I do? How do I tell him I'm serious?
The gun went off?
Yes, I fired it to scare the hell out of him. I wanted him to know that I was serious enough that if he kept this up, if he kept doing what he was doing to my mind, someday perhaps that would be pointed at a person. Not now, but someday.
And someday it was. You see, not now. Even in this moment, right? This is also a leak. This is also a leak. I know that her main motive was wanting to be with Nick. But I think that human beings are rarely that simple. And I think that I think that there's some other underlying motives. For example, that, she clearly has anger towards her ex-husband and, revenge, for what she perceives as abuse. This would be, I think it's layered for her. I don't think that it was just that straightforward. But of course, when they're presenting a case at trial, the prosecutor isn't going to give every possible motive. They go with the motive that they have the most evidence of. And they had the most evidence of her intense obsession and desire to be with Knickerbocker. And so that is what they presented. But I think there was some other like side motives, if you will.
And I fired the gun, he went, oh my God, and he broke the door down. And I sat there and I handed him the gun and I said, now do you believe me? And he took the gun and he said, yeah, and he left.
According to police reports, Steve Downs and Robert Knickerbocker told authorities Diane left Arizona with that gun in the trunk of her car. The gun hasn't been seen since. Downs kept a diary. It was a form of solace for her. Her journal entries took the form of unmailed letters to Robert Knickerbocker. She wrote of her love for him and the day-to-day events that happened before the murder. But May 19th, the night of the shootings, is blank, except for the date sketched at the top.
I don't even cry in front of my family. And I can go to my room and I can write in this diary, this record book, some of my fears. And it's really even sketchy. I don't write in a lot of detail. There are days when I'm overwhelmed with emotion, and the book will be rather emotional, but very few days. It's just sitting in front of the book and writing down little sentences and then being able to cry over it and feel emotionally everything that I don't physically write down. And it's a very good release. It's therapy in a way. It's also a way of keeping a record, because in the beginning so many things were said to me that were denied later. Oh, it's so sad.
Have you ever thought of the fact that your writing these things could be used against you or in your favor at any future time?
No, I didn't, because I never thought the book would be made public.
Police seized that diary as evidence in the case. Downs is now expecting another child. She says her pregnancy takes away the feelings of loneliness in prison.
I got pregnant because I miss Christie, and I miss Danny, and I miss Cheryl so much. I'm never going to see Cheryl on earth again. And you can't replace children, but you can replace the effect that they give you. And they give me love, they give me satisfaction, they give me stability, they give me...
And there it is again. To Diane's mind, children are another instrument of something that can do for her. They give me satisfaction. They give me stability. They give. Anybody who's ever had a parent, ever been a parent, knows that in the beginning, particularly with babies, that children aren't, they need, you're the caretaker. You give of yourself. You give your time. You give your love. You give your wisdom, all of the things that go into making a healthy child, emotionally and physically. You do all of those things. That's what you're the giver. You're not the other way around. Yes, in return, do children make you laugh? Yes. My kids used to come out with some of the craziest one-liners ever. They made me laugh all the time. They did. But it wasn't their job to take care of me. It was my job to take care of them. And all I hear from Diane is how she views the world and the people in it as what they can do for her. And if they can't do anything for her, then they are of no use.
A reason to live and a reason to be happy, and that's gone. They took it from me. But children are so easy to conceive.
Obviously, everyone is curious who the father is, and I know you probably don't want to talk about that. Does the father know who he is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I won't talk about it, because he feels as privately about this child as I do.
What would you do, given this current situation, if they said, if they took away your kids, and then they went one step further and said, we think you're an unfit mother.
We're going to take away this one? I don't know how they're going to do it. What if I'd like to see them try to take this baby from me, and how? How could they do it? They're going to have to wait a long time to do it. Hopefully this thing will be cleared up by then. I don't know that they could do this, take it away after it's born. I don't know. I've never even talked to my attorney about it because it seems so, let's put it the way the DA says, it's laughable.
Downs says her parents were shocked when they found out she was pregnant again.
My parents are the kind of people that wish you would do everything by the book in the order that it's pre-written. You get married before you have a baby. And being married is not, and never has been, I take it back. When I was young, when I was 16, 17, 18, being married was the most important thing in the world to me. And I think it's because I was raised that way. Most girls are. Yeah. But since that time, since my divorce, being married has been an iffy thing. I can do it if I want. I don't have to if I don't want it. And it's never been uppermost in my mind. My children are. My children always have been. And having children is, I think being a mother is the most wonderful job that any woman could perform. I died.
And even though she's talking about the kids here, right? She's not really my children. They're still an extension of her. She doesn't name them. She doesn't say, Christie, Danny, Cheryl. She doesn't name her children. They're my children. So even though she's she's not really talking about them, she's referencing them, but they're still an extension of her. She is a absolute sick twist, and I am so glad she's likely never going to get out of jail.
Every day, when I go to bed, I cry at night. Even now, I still cry. I dream about Cheryl. I dream about Cheryl reaching out with me with her arms and always giving me a kiss and saying, I love you, I miss you, where have you been? It's almost as if she really is coming back and saying, how come you're not here with me? One time, it was right after Christie went to the foster home, I dreamed that Cheryl came to me. Well, Christie came to me. And I said, Christie, how did you find me? And she said, Cheryl brought me. And Cheryl came walking out of the shadows. And there was blood on her shirt. And it was really spooky. And I said, Cheryl, I thought you were dead. And she goes, no, I was faking it. I knew they were going to take Christie away and she wouldn't be able to find you, so I brought you. And then Cheryl showed us how to sneak Danny out of the hospital and everything. It was a wonderful dream. It was wonderful because we were the four Musketeers and we were together again. But anyway, my dad knows how much I was grieving for the kids, and so he couldn't very well condemn the fact that I was having a child, because it's, like I said, it's not a full replacement. You can never replace a child. I tried to do that with Danny. Danny was a replacement for a child that I had aborted many, many years ago when I was quite young and foolish. And I found at that time when Danny was born that he is a person in himself. You cannot replace a child with a child. They are individuals. And this child is not to replace Cher, never. Cheryl's always going to be with me. How could I replace her? She's still here. But it's somebody to keep me company until Chris and Dan come home. Somebody that I can love and feel. And
so see, even this poor innocent baby, it's about what that baby can do for her, keep her company. God, what a puta.
Talk to. It's not like you're talking to yourself anymore. There is somebody there, and that's all this is. And so my dad couldn't really condemn it, even though he doesn't condone it.
Over the 9 months that passed without an arrest in this case, Downs lived with her parents in Springfield. Police reports claim Downs has changed her story about what happened the night of the shootings. They say she gave several different stories about the man who shot them when talking to her former husband or ex-boyfriend. Downs claimed afterward that 2 men were there the night of the murder, and they knew her by name. We asked her about those allegations before those police reports became public.
Did you remember that there was more than one person there that night? I mean, long after?
No. That is another thing that I suppose if you listen to the different tapes that were made, tapes by my ex-boyfriend, tapes by the sheriff's department, you would understand a psychological pattern that was being built up. It's something that I did not even understand at the time because, first of all, I trusted the cops. And even though I didn't trust the cops, I was forced into a position of saying they're the only people that really can help me. They're the only people that will try to find the person that did this. And you're trapped in a position of having to trust somebody even though you don't know if you should trust somebody.
Downs also says the children were shot inside the car, but police reports claim high-velocity blood spatters were found on the outside of the car, on the passenger side. The police found blood on the outside of the car. Could one of the children, perhaps Cheryl, have fallen out of the car on the passenger side?
The DA has come up with this idea that somebody was shot on the outside of the car, on the passenger side of the car. I was on the driver's side of the car when I was shot. And that's why it was so, it was planted. And it just seemed, I mean, it can't be real because they talk about blood spatter. And when they say spatter, I think something being shot out, like the blood spatter in the car. You know, it was so uniform, it was so regular, same size droplets spread evenly in a pattern. And when they say spatter, that's what I thought of. And we saw pictures of this so-called spatter. it's drops. When they took the kids, they took Chris and Cher out of the driver's side of the car, and it's blood droplets. It's when they picked the kids up and carried them over the threshold, there is blood dripping down the side of the car.
But May 19th is an evening that will not be forgotten by the survivors.
But the thing that really, really haunts me the most is not even the sight and the sound. I mean, the sound and the smell are fading. But at night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christie reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
Look at her. Just evil, evil, evil. Evil. All right. So now let's get you guys where you want to be. We are going to watch the 2010 parole hearing. All right, let me turn this on. Are you ready? All right, let me make this. Hold on, let me fix it. Hold on. Oh, wait. Here we go. All right. Sorry. All right, let's get into it.
Do you still maintain that you did not commit these murders? Or the murder and the other crimes you were convicted of?
Absolutely. I didn't commit them, and I still maintain my innocence.
The night you took your children to the hospital in Springfield, will you describe the events of that evening?
Yes. My kids and I were sitting at home watching TV. We were watching Helen Keller, the Helen Keller story. I received a phone call from someone who said that he wanted me to come pick up some photographs for my boyfriend. Not of my boyfriend, but for my boyfriend, Rick. Rick is a guy that I'd been dating for about 6 weeks, and he claimed to be an FBI agent. Whether or not he was, I don't know. I certainly never called him at work or showed up or made him prove it or show a badge. It didn't matter to me. I wasn't, to me it was just dating. But I received a phone call about 9:15 from someone who said I needed to come pick some photographs up for Rick. I piled the kids in the car. We went out to go meet this person to pick up the photographs. I stopped by Heather, wow, I can't remember Heather's last name now. I stopped by Heather's house because I told Heather on the phone a few days earlier that I had a newspaper ad for her. So she had been wanting to buy a horse, and this was a newspaper ad that would allow her to adopt a horse. So I had told her that I had a newspaper clipping for her that I'd found at work. So as long as we were going out to meet this guy to pick up photographs, we went by Heather's house. Heather said, I already got a horse.
Okay. The whole horse and Heather story, that is something that we've heard before. The new twist is the new guy that she's been dating, just dating. It was only 6 weeks, blah, 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 blah. This is a new wrinkle in this story. Just, it's hard to keep all of it straight in your head.
Horse just the other day. So we went to see the horse. We got back in the car. We left. I went to meet this guy. Somebody in the road flagged us down. I stopped and got out of my car, and he said something to the effect of, I want your car. And I laughed at him. And I said, you've got to be kidding. Because in my mind, those kinds of things don't happen. In Arizona, those things don't happen. I don't know about Oregon, but in Arizona, those things don't happen. And so he jumped into the car, leaned into the car, and started firing the weapon. And it happened so quickly that by the time he stood up and faced me, it was over. I mean, it was just that fast. He said something about the car again, and I struggled with him. The gun discharged. He fell back. I jumped in the car, put the keys in the ignition, and took off. The car door shut by itself. That's it, and I went to the hospital. Christie and Danny were in the back seat. When we got to the hospital, they were still crying. The nurses reported that they were still crying. The state says that I was the one that shot them and that I wanted them dead. If that was the case, I would not have taken them to the hospital still crying. There are so many other ways to accomplish such a horrific deed if I was going to do it. I'm certainly bright enough to figure out another way besides some way that looks so absolutely insane and hokey that nobody would believe it. I'm not dumb.
Ultimately, you told several different versions of the story when law enforcement investigated this, correct? When you talked.
Not correct.
Ultimately, well, I understood that you told law enforcement that this was done by two men with ski masks.
This is what somebody told me. How do I explain this? After my children and I were attacked, the police kept saying, Diane, you must have lapses in your memory because there's holes in this you could drive a semi-truck through. None of this makes sense. You're forgetting something. I believed, because I'd never had any dealings with authorities, and I believed the authorities, and so I thought they did, that I had lapses of memory. I can't tell you how the towel got around my arm, so I know from my own personal experience that I did have at least that much of a lapse of memory. I don't know how the towel got around my arm. So when people would call me up and people would say, I know so-and-so and he said such and such. I have another guy would call and say, I have a neighbor and he has a car that just looks just like that and he's been talking. These kinds of things were being said to me either by phone. People would stop me on my mail route. I worked in Cottage Grove and people would drive all the way to Cottage Grove just to meet me on my mail route and tell me these kinds of things. So I would call the police, or I would go to the police and I would say, this is what's being told to me. Those are the kinds of things they would say that I changed my story. I wasn't changing my story. I was trying to help. The police kept saying I had lapses of memory. People were calling me and telling me things that I thought, well, maybe this is what happened that I don't know. And so I would tell the police, believing that I was helping them investigate. They didn't tell anybody that these are reports, that I was giving them reports from other people. They would simply say, Diane came in and said such and such. The one about the ski mask was dreams that I was having. And they kept saying, well, maybe you forgot something. So when I would have a dream and I would wake up, I would think, well, maybe that's what I would forget. And so the ski mask story, I didn't tell the police. I was talking to somebody on the phone and I was sharing this dream, this thought with somebody, trying to understand in the same way that you would talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so that you can, because if you talk, maybe you can reach something, maybe you can find something that's inside you that's locked off. And so I was sharing this with somebody else, and the police were tape recording those phone calls and then said, oh, there she goes, she changed her story. And that wasn't it, and they know that wasn't it.
Okay, well, ma'am, I guess perhaps you could clarify it for me, because as you said, I am the newest person here, and I'm asking you new questions. But when I'm reading the pre-sentence investigation, it says, subsequently, defendant gave a total of 3 different versions of the shooting, including that it was done by 2 men wearing ski masks, and also that she knew the person who shot them. Did you not give 3 different versions of the story?
The police said, strangers don't shoot strangers for no reason. So I believe this had to be somebody who knew me. They also, at one point, the last day that I got to see Christie in the hospital, I believe it was June 15th of '83, Doug Welch came to the hospital and said, Steve Downs did this. We know Steve Downs did this. You need to be willing to testify against him. I said, how do you know Steve Downs, my ex-husband? How do you know Steve Downs did this? Give me the evidence. He said, don't worry about the evidence. Just be willing to testify. I said, if you can't prove to me he did it, he's not the one that fired the gun. He said, but he was behind it. I said, I cannot testify against somebody unless you can prove to me that he did this. I know he hates me, but why would he hurt the kids? Doug Welch said, you better be willing to play ball or you'll never see your kids again. And I said, I cannot testify against somebody unless you can prove to me that he did it. The next day when I went to see my children, I was not allowed to see my children ever again. That gave me the belief that the police were absolutely convinced that somebody I knew did this. And if the police believed it, then I believed it. Now, if they want to turn this all around and say, Diane changed her story, that's not what happened. And you guys are on the parole board, and I know you work with the legal authorities. You work with police, you work with the district attorneys, and so you know how they work. It's how they, I know now what they were trying to do. They were trying to scoop me into a corner so that, I don't know, so that I would say or do something that would incriminate me, which certainly worked. But that's not what happened. Though what I'm telling you is exactly what happened. Doug Welch came to the the hospital in Springfield. Oh, I can't even think. Mackenzie Willamette. No, anyway, to the Springfield hospital. He sat right there. He caught me when I was coming through the front door. He pulled me into the lobby. And these are the things he said to me. I went to see Christie for 15 minutes because that's all I was allowed. I left, and he was standing there, and he goes, I'm not playing, Diane. And I said, prove to me Steve did this. He says, let us worry about the proof. And I said, I can't testify against him unless you can prove to me he did this.
Okay. This story makes absolutely no sense. No sense at all. Because prior to all of this, right, we just watched her interview, okay? And she had nothing but nasty things to say about Steve. Like his Google review was negative stars, okay? And yet here she is demanding that they prove to her that he's the one that shot the kids. That makes zero sense, Diane. Bless it. This isn't even the wildest one.
And I left. The next day, I did not see my children ever again until court. And that was it. And so I believed. I believed what the police, I thought the police believed. Now, maybe they did believe that. Maybe to this day they still believe it, because Fred Hughey was, another time he told my attorney, Jim Jagger said, Fred, you know Diane is innocent. He said, I know that and you know that, but she's covering for somebody, and as long as she's going to cover for somebody, she's going to do that person's time. Jim Jagger said, go ahead.
I said, so is it your, is it what you're saying today is that the prosecutor in your case knew you were innocent, yet in order to get someone else, to convict someone else for this, he basically threatened to keep your kids from you in order to get you to make incriminating testimony against somebody else?
Even the poor parole board officer can hardly keep up with the bullshittery that has just come out of Diane Downs' mouth. Skyflash says her boyfriend that told her he didn't want kids taped all those conversations with her, and she's exactly the same. Have you heard them, Jen? Yes, I have. After this is over, I will put the link to the Diane Downs TV channel in the description. It's in the description of the other lives that I've done on this, so that you guys can go and listen to those. They are crazy. Absolutely. Yeah, she's ridiculous. She's absolutely ridiculous. This story makes zero sense. It's completely unbelievable. Here we go.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Jim Jagger told me Fred Hughey said this to him. I don't know that Fred Hughey said this. I have no reason to believe Fred Hughey said this now. But that's what Jim Jagger told me Fred Hughey said. So from that point on, I believed, from that point on, I believed that Fred Hughey believed that it was somebody that I knew. That's what I'm telling you. That is what shaped my belief patterns. And so when I would talk to the police, I spoke to the police as if it was somebody that was familiar to me. Not because I believed they were familiar to me, but because Fred Hugie told Jim Jagger, and Jim Jagger told me that Fred Hugie told him this. I have no reason to believe Fred Hugie would do that. I don't. Fred Hugie adopted my children, I think, during the trial. Can I go ahead and jump ahead with this?
Sure.
I mean, why not?
During the
Why not?
trial-
We're not even in the realm of reality, so let's just go on down this throw it off fast road.
At the very end of the trial, Fred Hugie, they brought in a mock-up of the car, and Fred Hugie got a gun, and he was reenacting the crime. And when he was going through the motions of firing the gun at the Christie doll and at the Cheryl doll and at the Danny doll, he couldn't shoot the Danny doll because the Danny doll was back here. And he raised up and he looked at me, and I went like this, and his face, he had a look of incredulation on his face, and his mouth started to open, and I nodded my head yes, and he had to switch the gun to the left hand. A right-handed person could not have shot the Danny doll. It was at that time, I don't think at any time before that did Fred Hugie believe that he was doing anything wrong. I think that he believed full bore that what he was doing was the right thing. But, and I'm not inside Fred Hugie's head, I don't have the right to speak for him, and I won't speak for him, but it was after that he adopted my children, and according to Christie, never said a bad word against me, ever. That was out of Christie's mouth. Fred Hugie, in all the time that he raised her, never spoke ill of me. I believe that Fred Hugie knows that there is a man out there that was hunting my children, and it wasn't until after Christie...
Wait a minute, Diane, back to the milk truck up. If you guys don't understand this, because it's a little bit convoluted, it's Diane after all. Fred Hugie is the prosecutor. He is who prosecuted Diane Downs. He did adopt her children, her surviving children. But so to your point, Diane, why would Fred Hugie have to speak ill of you? You freaking shot your children. Like, what else needs to be said? You think your children forgot that? Your daughter, Christie, testified against you. Was she in on the conspiracy too? Shut up.
She told her schoolmates that she drew pictures in school, and she said, "This is the man who shot us." I lied in court because they wanted me to say this and they wouldn't leave me alone. Dr. Peters, she said, Dr. Peterson kept pressuring me and he wouldn't leave me alone. Those children, the Andresens, told their mother told her, the apartment manager, and the apartment manager told somebody. Now, he didn't tell my attorney until 1991, but he apparently told somebody before that. But it was at that time when Christie was in that school and classmates with the Andresen twins that Fred Hugie decided to adopt my children.
We're not ready for that yet. Just give me a second. This is not the one we want to hear. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Let me fix this for you guys. Just 1 second. All right. This is part 2. There's not a whole lot of the 2010 interview or parole board hearing. So it's, did I put that on this? No. Here we go. All right. So we'll just do the best we can with what we got, and then we'll go ahead and go to 2020.
Am I going to need the security of living with my parents and knowing that there's somebody right there, or am I going to want the freedom emotionally to have my own place that I can call my own without having to worry about 7 roommates right there and vying for the sink and the toilet and the shower and everything else? They don't know. They are trying to cover all bases so that they're letting me know that I have the option of choosing for myself, that I can live alone or I can live with them, whatever makes me most comfortable.
Well, good. I know.
So, yeah, we talked about that. Oh.
You had conversations about your needs, but have you thought about their needs? Because your case obviously has attracted some attention.
Oh, she doesn't. Let me answer that for you, sir. No, she doesn't give a rat's fat kneecap about anybody's needs. No. She's about to say the word, you guys. This is the parole board hearing that got me to use Kookaloo's, okay? This is where that came from. If you ever wondered where that membership tier came from, it came from her. Here we go.
Be for them, with all the potential attention that you living with them might bring upon them. Have you thought about their needs in this?
Yes, every time I call home, I ask them, can we please move? I want them to move to another place. When I used to file legal work, back before I finally got my answers, and you check and see when my legal work all stopped. It's when I finally got the answers and I was finally able to calm down and just be me again, about 2005. But back in the day when my dad would file, I would write everything, my dad would type it, my mom would copy it, and she would do the filing for all of my legal work. Well, my dad, on the filing page, that's the certificate of mailing, you have to sign your name. My dad would always put his address.
Wait, Diane, what does this have to do with the question that you were just asked? This is, oh, God, I forgot how exhausting she is. Here we go.
So everybody knows where my parents live. And so every time I would talk to my parents on the phone, not every time, at least once a month when I talked to my parents on the phone, I would say, please, can we move someplace else? I would like to live someplace else where nobody can find you, because people are going to be coming by the house all the time, wanting to peek in the windows, wanting to heaven knows what. And I don't want us to have to deal with heaven knows what. My dad's 80. He had a stroke 2 years ago. He's very thin. He's lost 30 pounds. He stumbles. He falls. My goodness gracious, when they were here in August.
All the more, listen, thank you, Diane Downs, for explaining one of the reasons why, if you were ever to get parole, which you won't, but let's just say they just, I don't know, decided, hell, let's just do it. YOLO, you're old enough now. This is a fantastic reason for why you should not have to, you shouldn't be paroled to your parents' house. You're a burden.
His whole arm was bruised. I was scared to death that my mom was going to be arrested for battery of an elder and I asked, what happened to you? My mom says, he falls now. And I do not want my parents to have to worry about when my mom has to go out and get groceries because she can't get my dad to go on the cards.
This is such a good point. Mummy NATO says she doesn't want parole. She wants them to say you're innocent. We were wrong. You were so right. That's such a good point. That is such a good point. You're right. She does want that. She wants them to say she's innocent.
Easier for my dad to just stay at home. I don't want my mom to have to worry about when she has to go grocery shopping. Is somebody at the end of Quarter Mile Road going to be there throwing tomatoes at the car or wanting a signature, or can you sign my book or whatever? I don't want and so I would ask them, please, please just move. And it wasn't until May of this year when it was finally time. They know by ORS 144.228 that my parole date was May 9th. And so in April, my mom said, I've decided we're going to move and not tell the kids where we're going. I said, okay. But so my parents finally said yes, that they will move. Unfortunately, for me to move, I have to tell you guys where I'm moving, and it's the same as telling the media where I'm moving, and telling the media is telling the wackos, because somehow the wackos always seem to know everything. And the only thing that I can ask is, please, if you do parole me and you allow us to transfer to another state, someplace, please don't tell anybody where we are. I mean, it's the only way that I can keep my parents safe. I'm not worried. Come on, I live with 4,000 of the worst people in humanity, and it's a washing machine. It keeps turning over and turning over. We in California, we parole 11,000 people a year, and they come right back. So I'm not concerned about my safety, but my parents are old. If you think that it's better for me to parole someplace and never see my parents, again, and that's the only way to keep them safe, then I would do that. But I don't want to not see my parents again. I love my parents. My dad needs me to take care of him. He's 80 and he falls. He's a big man. My mom's a little woman. She doesn't, when it finally comes time to start bathing him and taking care of him, my mom isn't going to be able to do that by herself. Sending me someplace away from my parents would not be good for them. I could do it. I could do it. I've certainly dealt with, I've lost my children. Once somebody takes your children from you, taking your parents is, what's next? But my parents really need me. And so if you're going to parole me someplace to hide me, like you did Janice, well, like the others did Janice Freeman, that's great. But hide my parents too, please. It was back in 85. I saw the eyebrow. It was back in 85. Janice Freeman, when they paroled her, they didn't tell the media where she was. And if you're going to do that for me, do it for my parents. Don't do it for me. Do it for my parents, because they do not need the kookaloos.
There it is, the kookaloos. Lucy says the father she tried to throw under the bus with the worst possible accusations, those parents, Diane, them's the same ones. That'd be the same parents. So there you go. There's the kookaloos. You're a kookaloo, Diane. I'm in here with 4,000 of the worst people. You're the worst people. What are you talking about?
And I know, there you go, there's some insight. This is what insight has done, because I know what kookaloos, I live with kookaloos every day. I become inured to it. You don't ever get used to kookaloos, but you learn how to survive them. My parents don't know how. My parents don't, my mom will do the same thing that I did back in 83. She'll get a phone call and she'll go out to meet somebody. My parents, please don't parole me away from my parents. They need me. They as much as you think I'm a danger to them simply because of the kookaloo factor,
I'm pretty sure you're a
if
danger.
the kookaloos can't find me, they'll go to my parents.
Hold on a minute. I'm pretty sure, Diane, that you're a danger to your parents because you're just a dangerous person. That everybody, you see the world and the people living in it as tools. And once they lose their value, or they no longer can do what you want them to do, and they can't give you what you want, then they're disposable. That's why you're dangerous to your parents. The kookaloos are the least of your parents' worries, if I'm being honest.
They will. They will.
Ma'am,
They'll do whatever it takes, because
Ms.
I know
Downs.
what they do in here.
Ms. Downs, I'm pleased to hear that you've been able to keep your relationship up with your parents. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just getting some tissue. Oh, I didn't think I was going to need these this time. Thank you.
Okay. Take your time.
Okay.
You've been able to maintain parents. Any other
Thank you.
any other relationships that you've been able to maintain that you'd like to share with that might help you
No.
release in the community?
Just
Are
just
you
me and the
involved
demons.
in a romantic relationship at all? Any friendships or anything?
No, just me and the demons.
No, none that take me there. None that I would need. No.
Do you still maintain that you did not commit these murders? Or the murder and the other crimes you were convicted of?
Absolutely.
chairperson of the Oregon Parole Board. My name is Michael Shu, and we are ready to get started, okay? Just to start, let me make sure.
Oh my God. Did I tell you guys all of that while I was muted? Jeez, Jen. Now you know it's getting late for you, girl. All right, look. Normally I have like 27 tabs open, but I don't know. It's not working out good doing that. It's some of my like Streamlabs has kicked me out a couple of times for having 27 tabs open or whatever, so we don't have to do all this. So sorry that it goes to autoplay. And also, let's just get started with the 2020 interview, okay? Because this one's a long one. We're gonna have to do it in a couple of parts. We'll get through as much as we can tonight, and you know, we're gonna go through the getting to know you phase of this, and we're gonna hear all about how much Diane Downs has not changed. All right, you ready? Let's go.
Sure. Are you Elizabeth Diane Downs?
Yes, I am.
Do you know if your Oregon SID number is 6546106?
Yes.
Okay. And did you receive the board's packet and notice of rights at least 14 days ago?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Once again, I'm Board Chairperson Michael Shu. I would also like to introduce the other board members who are present at your hearing today. We have on the panel today Board Member Patty Kress.
Good morning.
Board Member James Taylor.
Good morning.
Board Member Greta Lowry.
Good morning, everyone.
And also Board Member John Bailey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd also like to introduce our visitors today. We have joining you, I don't think you can see them, but they are listening in to this call currently. We have from the Lane County District Attorney's Office, Deputy District Attorney Joanne Miller. I believe your brother, James Frederickson, is also attending via the phone. Desiree Frederickson.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you. Desiree Frederickson, niece of you, is also on the phone.
There are little moments of humor in this. There's actually quite there's like little things like this. Niece of you. Yeah, this is 2020, you guys. This one is, whoo, this one's a lot. There's little moments of levity.
We have Ann Yeager, who is an interested party, and Doug Welch, also an interested party, listening in via the phone. It's my understanding that we also have other members of the public listening in as well. I don't know who all of those members of the public are, but I'm told that it's about 20 people who are listening in. Okay?
Okay.
That's all she needed to hear.
I also want to make sure.
Let me tell you what, when he said there's 20 members of the public listening in, let me tell you what Diane heard. That's all she heard. That's all she heard. She's like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm going to get my crazy on. Hold the phone. Here we go. All right, here we go.
That before we begin, I cover all the materials that you have submitted to the board. I have materials received from you or your brother. They are dated August 24th, September 1st, September 8th, September 14th. Those are all the dates that the board received those materials, and we have reviewed them. We also have an email from your brother dated September 18th, 2020, and letters of support from James Frederickson and Desiree. We also have in the materials a letter of opposition to parole and a request for extended deferral for Elizabeth Diane Downs from the Lane County District Attorney's Office, and they attached a transcript of your 2010 hearing. Is that your understanding, Ms. Downs, of all the information that you submitted?
Just so you know, just so you're all up to speed here, okay? Let's just break this down real quick, okay? The Lane County District Attorney's Office, who prosecuted her, is in opposition of her getting parole. Okay, they're like, hell no, right? And to supplement why to back up as evidence of why she should not get parole, they just simply attached the transcript from 2010. They're like, nah, you guys are familiar, you have the packet on her crime. This is what she pulled last time. Whew. These poor parole board members, they were not ready. All right, we're never going to get through this if I keep on pausing.
As well as information that other parties have submitted?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I just want to start by telling you also what this hearing will be about. This is time set for your parole consideration hearing. It's a hearing to decide whether the board finds that you are no longer dangerous or finds that you remain dangerous but that you can't be adequately controlled with supervision and treatment, or finds that you are dangerous and will defer your parole consideration date further. We have received from the Department of Corrections an institutional report that is dated June 2nd, 2020, prepared by Counselor Kay Williams and reviewed and approved by the Director of the Oregon Department of Corrections, Colette Peters. Have you read that report?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. We also ordered and you participated in a psychological evaluation for today's hearing, prepared by Dr. Guyton, dated August 17th, 2020. Did you have a chance to read Dr. Guyton's report?
Yes, I did.
I also want to give you a roadmap of how this hearing will look like. We will take turns asking you questions, and I will be leading this hearing. We'll start by asking you about any...
Sir, can I ask you a question? Did you read the transcript from 2010? I understand that you have a plan for this, that you have a roadmap, that you have an idea of how this is going to go, but you are dealing with the ultimate kookaloo here. It is not going to go at all like you want it to. She ain't finna answer the question. She's not going to answer your questions. I mean, she's going to start out like she's going to answer your questions, but you're not really going to get an answer, which in and of itself is an answer. Hey, Lil D, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. I wish we could see her too. All right, hold on. All right, hold on.
Programming that you've participated in, your work history. I do want to spend some time talking about your health. Then we'll talk in depth about the psychological report authored by Dr. Guyton. We'll spend some time talking about your past criminal conduct, and we'll end by talking about any plans you might have if you are released. I also just want to warn everybody on the call, and also you as well, Ms. Downs, that because we are doing this through Skype, there are times where we will lose connection. If that's the case, typically we can establish a reconnection within a minute or so. So if we do lose connection, just be patient with us as we try to get you back on our screens. If we do lose connection, I will pause the hearing while the connection is lost, and then we'll just start back up where we left off before the connection got disrupted, okay?
Yes.
I don't know that it will, but I just want to warn everybody that that's what will happen if we do get disrupted. All right, so with that, I think the board will begin asking you some questions, all right? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's start off by talking about your programming, if any, that you participated in the institution. So have there been programs down there in California that you've participated in?
Programs such as mental health programs, self-help programs, school programs, all programs.
Yeah, why don't we start with mental health, if you've participated in any?
Okay. Mental health programs. I've been seen by Dr. Shoji, Dr. Rossi. I spent time when across the street, Dr. Rossi was a geriatric psych, and I lived in the elder dorm, and so we saw each other every day. She and I started a crochet program to help the elders. Learning a new skill is something that helps derail Alzheimer's, and so we started a crochet program to help the ladies learn a new skill. So she and I worked really closely hand in hand. I wouldn't say that it was necessarily psychiatric treatment.
Right, because you're a cluster B and there is no psychiatric treatment for that. I would like to point out that the 80s were blamed for this eyebrow situation. I would like to, let me just move this out of the way so you can get the full effect. You see this eyebrow situation here? Okay. The 80s were blamed for this. It's 2020 and they have not improved. I feel like this is not an 80s problem. This is Diane. She likes her eyebrows V-thin. That's all I wanted to point out. It means nothing. It's just me being petty. All right. Whoops. Let's keep going.
But she was a psych. She lived and breathed her craft. So everything that I said and did, she would say, so how did that make you feel? So kind of it was continual care. They have something here called LTOP. It's kind of an organized, there are classes, criminal thinking, things like that. And so there are classes that you take for weeks. It's weeks long, and you go 2 or 3 times a week. And it's a federally funded program, as far as I know. They have real psychiatrists and psychologists and sociologists that come in and teach these classes. And we have groups of 12 inmates and the sponsor. And we work together, we ask each other questions. Trust me, an inmate's going to ask you questions that a real person isn't going to ask you. So it's a very in-depth program.
Hold on a minute.
And that's pretty much the...
I'm sorry. Let me just pause briefly. An inmate's going to ask you questions that a real person's not going to ask you. Are inmates not real people? What the fuck? And also, whoever's doing the transcription, please mute your mic.
Extent of the psychiatric.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that part of the class is to teach you about criminal thinking. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Oh, yes. Criminal thinking is anything that deviates from the norm. For instance, sticking a biscuit in your bra before you leave the chow hall is criminal thinking because you're not supposed to take food out of the chow hall. And it might seem minor, but it made us aware that there are so many things we do on a daily basis. Parking in a handicapped parking spot when you're not handicapped, that's criminal thinking. And so it made us look deeper into ourselves, things that we might excuse as, well, what's the big deal? It is a big deal because it sets a pattern for how you view bigger things in life. So that's criminal thinking actually makes you sit and think about every single thing that you do during the day. Is that appropriate? Is that socially acceptable or is it unacceptable? Might not seem little to you, but it might be something that's really big to somebody else. And every little stone adds up to one big landslide. So.
Thank you. And any other types of programming that you've participated in?
I've taken like vocational classes.
Related to what types of vocation?
I've taken the computer class, hoping, because I know the world out there has changed a lot in 36 and 37 years. I took a computer class to try to understand computers better. I took an electronics class because it actually goes with the computer class. You're going to spend $500 to have a guy come out and replace a cable that you can replace for $20. So I took the electronics class to go hand in hand with the computer class. After that, I took the carpentry class.
Hold up.
All these classes, and that's pretty much all they.
Hold up. Back the milk truck up. Who thought it was a good idea to put tools in this woman's hands? A hammer, nails. I would like to see Diane's carpentry work, if I'm being honest.
I had, so then I went into skills training, which was plant operations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Katie brings up.
Anything else that we should be aware of that you've taken?
Excuse me, Michael. I don't want to be rude. KD brings up a fantastic point. Criminal thinking is lying about your crimes at your parole hearing, Downs. You ain't never lied. Yes, absolutely. I like the way you think, Cuff You, so she can build her own house or redecorate her cell. See, that's what I like about my chat. You guys are always half full.
Regarding programming?
Well, in plant operations, it's kind of a craft school. I mean, you learn to be a plumber, an electrician, a painter, and I spent probably 2 years in that. So I learned a lot of skills that I didn't know before, skills that I got pretty good at.
Also, hold on a minute. Look at poor Rue over here. Just sweet Rue hanging out, and there's this bitch. Ugh, I can't.
What did you find most rewarding about the programming or classes that you've taken?
Let's skip to the part where she tried to escape.
I would say most rewarding. Well, it depends on which kind of rewarding. Emotionally rewarding, LTOP.
Oh, for the love of
because in that class there was no judgment. You could literally say, there's a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about in prison because I'm quote unquote Diane Downs. I can't talk about my children. I can't talk about anything that is emotional for me because I always have to maintain an image of strength. And in LTOP, there was no judgment. That was just one of the rules of the class. And so I was able to speak about things that I wasn't able to speak, that I can't speak about in general population. So emotionally, that was rewarding. I enjoy physical work, so plant ops was physically rewarding for me. I worked for IDL, inmate day labor. I was a ditch digger. I loved it. I can literally put industrial strength pipe in the ground. That's what I learned. I could work for Caltrans, and I enjoyed that physically. I enjoy the labor. So I guess that's it. I guess those are the two things that I enjoy the most. Gardening is for the soul. I garden just as a hobby. In this prison we have
gardening is for the soul. Too bad you don't have one.
Trees, flowers, plants, shrubs, and spiritually I enjoy that because that's where you get to commune with the big guy upstairs and really search your soul. So spiritually I enjoy landscaping.
How long ago did you take LTOP? Is that what's called? We're here in Oregon, so I'm not familiar with all the names of the programs down in California.
Yes, LTOPP. I was in LTOP for close to a year. Close to a year.
When was this?
She's down with LTOPP, y'all. Yeah, you know me.
2 years ago. The group has been deactivated. It's become something else, and I can't remember. They have another name for it now, and it's under a different program. I can't remember the name.
Okay.
But if you call anybody here, they'll know what LTOP is. In fact, the new program they kind of still call LTOP because it's sort of the same format.
Got it. All right. I don't have any further questions for you about programming. Do the other board members have any questions? Let's start with Ms. Kress.
Ms. Downs, is there any program that you're currently at this time involved in?
Crocheting, we didn't talk about that. Those are volunteer programs. We're locked down right now. COVID's real. And COVID, you see my little mask here, and we're pretty much locked down most of the time. And so I'm still able to crochet. I'm still able to landscape.
Oh,
we still do volunteer help.
That is a load off my mind. Is it a load off y'all's minds? Diane Downs, during the vid, lockdown and all, is still able to landscape and still able to crochet. I was really worried there for a minute. And believe me when I say, if you weren't able to landscape and crochet, it was going to distress me throughout the day.
There are people in the unit that are able to take their schooling through correspondence. The teachers bring their classes on Fridays and pick them up on Fridays, and so I help tutor in between that. So those are the programs that I'm involved in right now. I am still assigned to bicycle refurbishing. The Sheriff's Department brings the bicycles that are, when they do raids of places, drug houses and stuff, and they find bicycles that have been stolen, they take them to the police department. They wait 60 days for somebody to come claim them. If they don't, then they bring them to us and different prisons around the valley. We restore them, fix them, and we give them to children at Christmas time. So I'm still assigned to that program, but until we're able to go back to work, I am confined to my unit for the most part. So it's just volunteerism is all I do.
So my next question is, what does your typical day look like?
I crochet a lot. I've crocheted probably 300 blankets. They're for the Linus program. It's for children. Some of the blankets go to children that are born to their mothers were in the slave trade for prostitution. Some, when they have hurricanes, some of our blankets go to the children of hurricane victims. So I do a lot of crocheting. I do a lot of studying. Studying. I don't know. It probably doesn't mean much to anybody else, but it keeps the mind active, and it poses questions. I study history. It poses questions. Well, how would I feel if I was living in those days?
When's the last time you stuck a biscuit from the chow hall in your bra, Diane?
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Board Member Taylor?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Downs, I do want to commend you on getting your AA degree. It's been some time, but that is a major accomplishment within the institution, so I want to congratulate you on that. It's noted in your packet that you did complete a 12-week program called From the Inside Out Relationships. Can you tell the board about that program and what you got out of that?
That program is, it's sponsored by, there was an associate warden across the street. After she retired, she brought that program to this prison. It helps with anger management, violence. They're classes. What did I get out of it? It made me more aware that, for example, grief. I thought I had put grief on hold all these years because I don't sit around crying. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. And I found out that's part of grief. That's one of the stages of grief. And I'm just stuck in it because I'm not allowed to process, which is another word that I learned in these programs. So what did I learn from it? I learned that it's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to stay angry. You need to find out what it is that makes you angry and move past that. And what makes me angry is not being able to process. So I have found people that I feel safe enough to process with. One is the associate warden from across the street. Other LTOPs. The Inside Out helped me open up during LTOP. It wasn't just that we had permission in LTOP to speak freely, but I felt I gave myself permission.
Okay, Diane, like we've been listening to you. We've reviewed all of your things. You're very wordy. When have you not been able to stop? I mean, who's stifling you from speaking? Jen Goodwines wants to know who's doing this photo shoot for her. You mean the prison glamour shot look? Yikes on bikes. I'm not sure. I'm curious about that myself.
And so I learned from Inside Out that it's okay to reach out to somebody else. I don't have to fix everything myself. I don't have to be okay all the time by myself. It's okay to go to somebody else and say, look, I don't get this. I'm confused about this. I don't understand this. I feel pain. I feel grief. I feel sorrow. I feel whatever I feel. It's okay to feel those things. And to share it with somebody who's on the outside of my pain that can say, I get what you're saying. Have you looked at it this way? And it's like, no, I didn't. And so basically it was the class, and there were several classes, but it's more of a looking inside your soul. So, yeah.
Sometimes individuals may find themselves getting angry when there's no one around to talk to. So did you learn any skills that you could employ if you were alone or with someone else and you got angry? How
so
could
you don't
you
spiral? Yeah.
Yes. What skills did you learn to not allow you to spiral?
Yes.
I'll tell you what she didn't learn, how to not interrupt people. She still has zero social skills or etiquette, no couth about her. And yeah, so there we go. She has not learned manners at all.
Mostly is stop. Just stop. You have control over your own anger. When you get angry and lose control, you give someone else permission to take control of you. So just stop. Figure out what it is that makes you angry. Figure out on a level from 1 to 10. Is it really that important? Is it going to matter 10 years from now? Basically, just stop. Meditate. Go inside yourself and figure it out. Because usually the anger is you. It's not somebody else making you angry. It's you making you angry, or me making me angry. So figure it out. What is it about the situation that I'm allowing myself to be that way? And just plain stop.
I see. So all those classes taught you how to stop being angry. I guess we'll see how that goes. Hold on a minute. All right. We're probably going to do like, I don't know, just a little longer because.
Now, there was a class that you took in 2016 called Victim Management. I'm not sure if you recall that class.
Yeah.
But talk to the board about what that class entailed.
It's called Victim Impact, actually. And basically it teaches us to step inside the victim's shoes. We saw lots of videos of people that had been victimized, robberies, family members that were killed, rapes. And we watched these videos and then we would discuss among ourselves. And sometimes it would be a crime that someone in the room had been convicted of. And so they would talk about what how does it make you feel to know that Mrs. X lost her husband the same way that you took someone's husband? And so it put us in the shoes of the victim. We were trying to, there are a lot of prisons who allow the victims to come to the prison and have one-on-ones with their victimizers and in controlled situations. And LTOP was trying to work that out with the prisons so that this could happen for the victims as much as for the inmates, because sometimes in the abstract it's not as impactful as it.
Right. Great. What did you learn, Diane? Did you put yourself in your victim's shoes? Did you try to put yourself in 3-year-old Danny's shoes when he's just in the back of the car with the person he trusts and relies on for his care, for everything, because he's 3, and you pointed a gun at him and fired it? Did you put yourself in those shoes? How about Cheryl's shoes? Did you put yourself in Cheryl's shoes? Christie's shoes? Of course you didn't, you selfish bitch.
If one of these squares here was one of my children, that would be powerful. I mean, I respect your position, I respect the job that you have to do, but you're also kind of seeing it from the outside. You're not seeing it from Christie's and Danny's point of view. And so we were trying to work it out with the prisons so that some of the girls, my children are in Oregon, that was never going to be a possibility, but trying to work it out so that some of the people, the prisoners, will be able to see their victims even on a screen like this, so that they would be able to listen to the victim, shout at them and say, I'm angry, I hate you, so that we would finally be able, talking to you is meaningful-ish, but not nearly as impactful as if you were Daniel or Christie. That would be massive. That would dig to the soul. Those are the things that we learned in Victim Impact, is that those people, Mrs. X, we feel her pain. But if Mrs. X had been Christie or Daniel, and we were able to sort of transpose Mrs. X into Christie, Daniel, whomever. So that's what we got out of it, was basically being able to put ourselves in a victim's place. And there's more than just the victim. My parents were victims. The district attorney was a victim. The media was a victim. Because those are all people that had to bear witness and feel. So those were the things that we learned in that class.
And this was kind of a difficult question. I wasn't really intending to ask you, but since you were talking about victims and how difficult it is, obviously you were accused and convicted of murdering your child and attempted murder of your other children. So with those dynamics, I would assume that was much more difficult for you to put yourself in the victim's position, since you were the mother of the children.
Yes, that's why That's why we were hoping to be able to, even to communicate by Skype. I cannot put myself in Christie's place or Daniel's place. But if Christie or Daniel were sitting here, I would be able to say things to them that would seem irrelevant to you. I mean, yes, I would say I was sorry. But it wouldn't, but if they were sitting there, it wouldn't be just, I'm sorry. It would be from the soul. I'm sorry. If I knew that Christie and Danny were going to be able to see this, if that was part of this, I would have something to say to them, for them. But more than that, I would want to know what they had to say. Like, do you hate me? You have a right to hate me. Do you never want to forgive me? You have a right to never want to forgive me ever in life. To have a right, and I want them to know they have that right. That I'm not just sorry. If I could take it back, I would take everything back. I was stupid. I was a foolish woman. I lived a careless life. I thought I was putting my children first because I took them everywhere with me. But when you live a foolish, careless life and you take your children with you, I was always physically combative with my ex-husband. I could fight. My 3-year-old couldn't fight. What right did I have to take him someplace? To take him someplace that he couldn't fight? Yeah, I could fight. Cheryl couldn't fight. Christie couldn't fight. It was foolish and stupid of me to take them into my careless, foolish life. I was wrong. They have a right to be angry at me. They have a right to hate me. And I wouldn't even try to change their minds. And yet they're not here. In California, the victims come. They come to the hearings. They get to say, I hate you. That doesn't happen here. My words are for Chemeketa Community College. Who cares? They don't care. They just want something to gossip about later. My children have a right to say what they want to say to me. My children have a right to see that I am so sorry. My heart is broken every single day. Only I can't tell people that in population. Because they don't care, first of all. They just want to gossip too. I'm sorry, what was the question?
I mean, I think you've answered it, but, you know, my last question before I turn it over to the other board members is, you know, you've taken some programming, but the records show, and I want to make sure I'm not incorrect, but from 1996 to 2008, which is a 12-year period, you weren't involved in any programming at all, at least any formal programming. I know there were some transfers and some other things, but could you tell the board why you elected not to participate in programs for 12 years?
There were no programs. There were no programs offered. All the programs that we have here, inmates started, and staff members, I was across the street at VSPW. Inmates started the programs, and they worked with the associate warden to bring outsiders in. That's when they started the SAP program, which was for drug offenders. But because they brought the SAP program into the facility in 1999 or 2000, that's when the facility started being more open to having more rehabilitative programs. And so when the inmates would work with people on the outside to bring programs in, Kairos, Free the Heart, different programs, it was the inmates that started the programs. And so there weren't any up until that part. There just weren't any.
And the last question, I promise, is, you know, the purpose of programming, as you can understand, is to allow the individual to become a better person than they were when they entered the institution, to learn and understand what kind of person they were, hopefully transgress through the issues they had, and come out on the other end a better person. So for you, after 35 plus years, can you say that you're a better person at this end of the journey than you were when you entered the institutions?
I know I'm a better person, if for no other reason than that I know that I was a foolish, careless woman, and I'm not anymore. I'm older. I'm more experienced. Believe it or not, living with criminals gives you a real insight into what a whole lot of the real world is like out there now. I think now before I act. I've had to think before I act. Like I said, in prison, I'm not allowed to feel or express certain things without retribution from inmates. And so I think before I act. About everything. You think about what you wear. You think about how you wear your hair. It seems ridiculous to you, but it's a lifestyle in here. And so when you think about something as simple as how do you wear your hair before you leave your unit, what kind of shoes are you wearing before you leave your unit, it makes you think about everything. And so that's what I didn't do before. I didn't think about anything. I just lived free spirit by the cuff. And that's what caused me to make bad choices, because I wasn't making choices. I was just bouncing around. So I believe that my programming, the classes that I've taken, and even just working in plant operations, because in plant operations we have to go to every yard, and you're dealing with a whole different set of people. They have 4 different yards here, and they're like 4 different cities. They literally have their own flavor, their own attitudes, their own kind of inmates. And so every time you go to a different yard to work, you're dealing with a whole different crew of people. And you think before you go. You make plans. You don't just bop in and bop out. And so I think everything that I've done in prison has made me a better person because I think now, which I wasn't doing before.
Thank you, Board Member Shu. That's all I have.
Board Member Lowry.
Uh-oh, we lost her.
I'm back. Can you hear me, Ms. Downs?
I can hear you. There you go. I got this whole big black thing here, and so you're really little, but I can see you. So if I am not looking into the camera, you're right there. So
This lady does not give a rat's fat kneecap if you can see her or not, Diane. She's interested in what you have to say. All right. I'm going to end it here because after this, I think, yeah, this is when she really gets going. Something about the females asking her questions really just sends her somewhere else. So I'm going to end it for tonight, and I will put the link to the Diane Downs TV channel in the description. I got to go. I have to be up early tomorrow. I have the nuggie, and she, bless her little heart, she woke up at 6:30 this morning. And I said to her, because what I had intended to do was wake up at 6, and she usually wakes up at 7:30. So I've intended to work for like an hour and a half, and then she would get up, and then we'd do our thing, right? Well, I said, Nuggie, it is 6:30. It's way too early for you to be awake. And she said to me, well, Granny, I slept, and now all my energy is good So it's fine for me to be awake. And I was like, okay. So that was my day today. So I'm gonna get off of here and get to bed because I've been on it. Also, I want to keep them around like the 2 hour mark because that people like it's easier for people on the replay too to watch a 2 hour one. So anyway, I'm gonna end it here, but we'll be back tomorrow night and we'll pick up right where we left off. And yeah, she's got good energy. That's what she told me. My energy is good, Granny. So yeah, she's a funny little thing. She's a we're I taught her how to say the word apoplectic because you guys know that is one of my very favorite words. And she's so funny because she's using it correctly. So I'm so proud of her. But anyway, let you guys go. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for supporting me and the channel. If you haven't done so already, would you do me a favor? Give your girl a thumbs up, thumbs down. I'll leave it to your discretion. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow night, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, or 7 Pacific, I think is the right time. All right, you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.